So make sure you're all muted. Cool. Okay. So tonight's presentation discussion is comes mostly from Iain Highfield and the guy that he's learnt off. Now, I definitely, if you haven't watched it, I want you to watch it, because I think that it's insanely important from so many aspects. There's still a couple of aspects there that I want to discuss that I'm not quite sure they're in the right place. And I have sent Iain an email thanking him for such a wonderful piece of work, and hopefully I'll see him at the 30th at the Belfry on the toughness in sport. So he starts off to define learning, and this is his definition, and so he's to be praised for that. He defines learning as the acquisition, retention of knowledge or skills through experience. So I think that that's very true, and I think that it's also pertinent to the coaching course, i.e. that until you actually give lessons and you experience that, you don't make learnings. And I think that we're really lucky in some way that with giving golf lessons, there's very little there that we would call block learning. We might have a block with the process, but everything's always different. As we know, it's always a blank canvas. So you know, it's really good that we've got that sort of format. Now, again, I've heard quite a lot of psychologists go on about that, the fact that there's a challenge between taking the skills on the driving range to the course, and it's like, well, you know, they're baffled by this. But, you know, Charles Seashore told us in one of his potential troubles of feedback is that information has to be contextual. So, yeah, they're still missing the whole point that, you know, although he wasn't talking too much about improvers and how people improve or at what stage, we have to get on that course to find out what they're doing on the golf course. And if, again, going along Charles Seashore's front, surely probably all learning should be done on the golf course with the context there. And so when we go on the golf course, it would be how to make that random as well. So maybe we're on the golf course, but we've got to hit 3 different clubs, 3 different shots to get the ball in the same place. But on the golf course, not necessarily on the driving range, because you know, maybe no practice should ever be done on the driving range. And certainly I think that there's an interesting debate. I don't think the scientists still haven't worked out how block practice is useful and when it's useful. There was a suggestion that Kendall said that the beginner is more likely to advance from block practice, but at the same time there's a huge element from both what Kendall says and what Iain says that the first introduction to golf should be fun. Now, I think that brings up an interesting question as well. So basically they're saying that if we make the first experience of golf fun, then they're more likely to stay and want to learn more. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that if someone's state of motivation is so powerful, then why would they need to have that introduction to fun? I'm not quite sure they need that. Certainly engagement, certainly an experience, but not necessarily that fun element, which is very much a part of that start in intrinsic golf. So he talks about quite a few things. He talks about environment and the coach qualities. So I think that there's many levels that he's talking about the coach and the qualities. and how they facilitate that learning. So again, he mentions that facilitators will be coaches, researchers and educators, and I'm pretty sure that the reason that we're so in advanced in the WGTF is because I did my research a long way back purely out of trying to find the opportunities for learning, while at that time the golf industry was really looking at the golf swing and nothing more. So it was actually, you know, through video technology, it was becoming more advanced in that field, and it was not looking at the peak performance field as much as I was, because I was interested in why, you know, people having lessons didn't get better. Iain quotes a period of about 2 years, and so does his mentor, that says about 2 years, that's it, you don't get any better. Again, I'm going to have to pull that one right apart. I spent about 8 to 10 years between beginner and 13 handicap. I then got to 9 handicap and spent about 5 to 6 years there, and then I looked at, you know, wanting to qualify with the PGA. So then I went back in and I managed to make those changes. Now, granted, I think the biggest thing that had the biggest factor on me coming down from 9 to 3 was that I played 36 holes a day. So I was having lessons. I was having lessons off a good coach with a good system, you know, who was sort of like, you know, in the flat left wrist mode. But it was the 36 holes that I was playing a day, plus my core strategy, my mental strength, mixed with a bit of desire to win. So I think that I was motivated by winning. You know, again, I think that we're back into that contextuality. So he's got a lovely little graph for the phases. So he says that it starts off with fun, you then get intensive, and what he means by intensive is intensive instruction. So we're telling them what to do, and we're giving them the drills, and we're helping them through those drills. We're obviously training them at a conscious and unconscious way to get into feedback. And then the last stage is the guidance, which is you know, where that we know where they want to go, and but we're now really powerful in autonomy. Now, again, you know, I'm not so sure that autonomy doesn't start a lot earlier on, that we don't start, you know, helping them be autonomous in the fun stage, but definitely we would rarely go into, if ever, the giving lectures while we're in that guidance phase. He talks a lot about, and this is where I think that, you know, you should really be thinking about turning up at the Belfry, is this toughness in sport, the difficulty in the challenge, but that there actually should be difficulty. We should put difficulty in. The more that we put that difficulty in, the more we hit that learning sweet spot, the more that we stretch us, the more that we find those resources that we need to get there. So again, I think one of the challenges of us as coaches, especially with indoor places, is how that we can create difficulty within the internal environment. So again, I think that we probably need to look at that a little bit harder. For instance, I was very lucky at in the indoor golf school where I had the swing frames. These swing frames had lots of holes in them, and so I used to get the people to try and hit the balls through the holes. Now, this had a real pain, because if it missed the hole and hit the metal, then that ball started bouncing around all over the place. So, like, you know, I was putting a strong piece of fear in there. But again, I'm thinking, well, you know, how could we, you know, take people on the golf course and create these situations where we put this degree of difficulty in, but on the golf course, not on the driving range. But again, going back to toughness in sport and how this gets you going, I think we have to understand that if we're going to get full resources of the client, then we're going to have to make things difficult, get them thinking, and actually failing, because without failure, they won't be able to go into that voyage of discovery. He extended the conversation about blocked, random, and what he called interlevered practice. Now, so what he was saying was here, so all of the things that we do, i.e. a swing with eyes shut, swing 20%, 30%, 50%, 90%, swinging with different clubs to different targets, but mishmashing those things, letting them have two swings in the mirror, then getting them to take a 6-iron to a pinprick target, then making them make a chip, then giving them a drive to a specific target. So these things were mixed, and we pretty much know that when they are forced to try and remember, then that retention period is stronger. We tend to have that retention grows the more that we make that practice random. However, again, there's still no defined time for random practice with a beginner, which I'm pretty sure has to exist. He talks about student motivation, mastery, and the ego. So again, I think that this tells me that the work that I've done on the egoless state is something that you guys have got to get good at. You've got to understand the ego and how it works. You really should I'll get the word in a second. Immerse yourself in Urquhart Toll and that information, so that we can get a much better understanding of how to help people into that egoless place where learning is going to be possible, and mastery, i.e. the idea that they're on a journey, can be pressed home. So certainly, again, when I go and think about the total beginner to scratch, it would be pointless starting that process without mastery being understood and the ego vanishing. And within this element, so when we're going to go to people that haven't started off with that in vain, then there's certainly going to be some resilience required. So again, we're back to the toughness in sport. He talks about goal setting, and exactly like us, you know, within your structured process, you've got what's the long-term goal, what's the short-term goal, and then the suggestions we got from Kendall about the small bites. He stretched this a little bit further, and suggesting that we might have to set daily goals, and those daily goals might just be to read a book, to do the washing up. But it's to get into this habit of creating small goals that we can achieve, and it gives us that momentum. So we create a psychological momentum that we're taking on tasks, and we're doing tasks, and we're finishing tasks, and it's in that process that we create that flow, that we can do anything, and that we can keep on taking on new tasks and achieving those tasks. He talks a lot about mental rehearsal and visualization, which again is very much part that we've got it very much in the pre-shot routine. Also, we're very much into meditation, and that after the meditation's finished, that's the best time to go to the future, to imagine something's already been done. He didn't quite take the meditation states that little bit further that we've suggested, In other words, that not only do we imagine that it's been done, we imagine somebody else noticing that we've done it and telling us that we've done it, so that even that success in the future is dissociated from ourselves, so somebody else has seen us succeed. So there's a few little things there that we could add to that whole process. Again, a lot of he mentions on the tape that he is with the clients for much longer period of time, that he's not with the clients for the hour lessons because he's leading an elite program. But again, I don't think that makes any difference. You know that I think that we shouldn't be giving our lessons, we should only do the long-term process. But we still got to, if we're not on a golf course, we've got to find ways to make the degree of difficulty there, so that we can enhance the best attributes of our learning. On the tapes, he gives lots of links to YouTubes and books and websites. So you're going to have to visit that if you want to copy those. I have asked him for the word copy of that, so that then I can post that to you. You can just go straight into the browser. Now, he also mentioned something else. He mentioned a YouTube video with the 10 secrets of success, and it's not really the 10 secrets of success. It's actually the 10 secrets of change. So we got that a little bit wrong, but I found it, and I posted that on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn today. So hopefully you might have got that, but I'm going to go through that as well because I thought that was pretty powerful, and especially to the guys in stage 1. Because this is what it's all about. It's for people in stage 1. The hardest thing is, because you're out there working on your own, is to stay motivated and to get momentum going. And I think these 10 secrets were absolutely fantastic. So it's from a guy that was a Navy SEAL, and he said that the number one thing, the number one starter, is making the bed. So basically, on their original training, that's the first thing they had to do, make that bed. And he was quite funny. He says this story about the day and everything. He said, and if everything goes wrong in the day, at least you've made the bed, you can go back to the bed. But it sets up this thing about achieving, about doing. It sets it up right from the start. So it's kind of like you need to get some tasks in the day to be done, so that every day you know that you're achieving tasks. So the number one really is start each day with a task. The second one I thought was really profound for you in stage 1. You need someone to help. You need to find someone to help you. You need to find collaboration. You need to find a mentor. So you stage 1 guys, find yourself through the membership someone that will work with you, whether it's a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, or someone that's been there years. Form your collaborations as per the instructions. Find a mentor. That mentor can be me if you can't find somebody, but if you can find somebody that has that coach mentor role, ask them to mentor you through this. The third one was respect everybody, everyone. So again, it will be quite interesting in Iain's case. I've written him a very nice email. It will be interesting to see whether he does come back to me, whether he does want to meet, and whether he shows the respect for another organisation. Another one is expectancy. Life is not fair. Have no expectations of anything. And you know, it's a fundamental fact that's going wrong. You've got all the TV telling everybody can have anything, but you know, nothing's fair in this world. It never will be fair. So don't have any expectations of anything apart from process. He says there, you will fail, and fail often. And again, I think that's running, you know, back from everything's not fair. He says you must take risks. Well, you know, how are you ever going to learn to become a coach unless you're prepared to give lessons, even when you don't know anything? You're going to have to go and take risks. Put in some of this information. You know, how many people have really tried to run somebody through the eagle estate? How many have you actually just taken that slight risk to do that? And to obviously fail, because you're going to have to fail to get good at it. The next thing he says is face the bullies. And there's bullies everywhere. You know, there's certainly a lot of us in the early days of WGTF before we became as good at coaches and had a good a program, where we used to get bullies, and we still get bullied. Look at the work of our friend on Facebook. He tries to bully us. We're not going to be bullied. We're not going to be taken down. But we're still going to respect everybody as we do it. You won't find one comment back to Paul that from me that doesn't respect him. Another great one. Lift up the downtrodden. So as we walk through our life, you know, we've got to be prepared to help people. We've got to be prepared to pick them up, even though sometimes they might not want it. Let's remember that there are other people not as fortunate. You know, if you're here in stage 1 or 2 or 3, and you're living this life, or you want to live this life, you know, to some degree, you're very, very fortunate people. This is a real privilege to do this, and the information you're getting here is a pure privilege. You know, for 100 years, golf coaches have been getting incredibly poor information, leading to the fact that 99% of all lessons are failure. Here, you've got the privilege of getting information that really can change and really help people. So be prepared to help those people that have been less fortunate. And the last thing that this guy says is never, ever, ever, ever give up. And again, how true is that going to be with seeing this through to the end? Because again, if we go back to the point that this is a journey, and this journey's got to be eaglist, you know, we never ever going to stop. The learning's going to go on forever. So I think that's it as far as what I've got to say tonight. I truly recommend you watching this and coming back with further questions, and I'll keep you up to date with Iain's communication with me. And for those that, if he doesn't send me the link, I have copied off all of the links, and I will put that in the newsletter. But again, I would prefer you to watch the video. So let's unmute, and please, anybody that's got a question, fire away. As usual, Marcel, as you've watched it.
Well, it's not a question. I like the video very much. It has lots and lots of information. I think it's very useful, and I'm going to use it again. There was one thing that struck me a little, and that was the example of Top Gun.
Of the
Top Gun pilots.
Ah, right.
Where Fran says that to create the best learning environment, you take the top 10 fighter pilots, make them instructors, and then you can create a learning environment. That's further to golf. You need players
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that what he was saying really was how the reason that the figures changed of enemy planes shot down was because they made the tasks of the pilot that much harder. I think that was the point. That they turned up the level of training. They turned up the degree of difficulty, and they were almost prepared to lose lives to do that. And we've seen this in many trainings with the army, haven't we, where people are always dying on training, and the reason is they're trying to push them, and push and push and push. Now, you know, I don't know how far you push a golfer, but yeah, you know, I can see that we want to create tasks that they cannot achieve, so that we find that resilience factor, and when that resilience factor comes out, that will enable them to enhance their learning. So that was my interpretation. I may have it wrong.
Yeah, mine also, but even if you think about that, it says that you need to have been there to create those circumstances. If you haven't been a top player, you can't create top player situations.
Yeah, and look, I'm not, again, I don't think that it's valid within the golf. I just don't think it's valid. And I certainly don't think that you need a top golfer to do that. In actual fact, top golfers don't do that. What we do know is that what we've seen in the tennis is how, you know, the modern day player is adopting the old guys that won, and they're certain. So in that respect, they're using that mentor to win at the very top level. Okay, just that one little that little thing. But again, you know, the point is, we've still got to walk the talk. So we've got to walk the talk of the Eagle Estate. That's the first thing. For anybody that's not, you know, working on their ego, not either through knowledge or meditation or whatever, then you're not walking the talk. You've got to get yourself into that place. So I think that when you do all of these things in your own game, when you do all of these things in practice, when you do all of these states, then you do become the Top Gun pilot. You then are the Top Gun pilot. Yeah? But you've got to do them. And, you know, and it's there. It's a book that says, you know, you can succeed.
Yeah, but what you mean to say is you can do this whenever you have.
Just have to speak up a little bit, Marcel. Speak up a little bit. So I think that, hold on, I think my volume's turned down here, hold on. There we go. That's better. Right, say that again.
I think what you mean is that you say you can do this on every level.
Yeah.
Coaching. If you're a starting coach or coach for a longer time or a top coach, you can do this system
Yeah.
at every level.
Oh, definitely. But, you know, again, most coaches that have been around a long time, they won't be prepared to do any of this. You know, it's only the young PGA coaches, you know, that have been around for five years and have got the desire to learn more, as well as getting some of the information straight out of the PGA course, and the older WGTF coaches. All the guys in stage 1 can start doing this now. Ben, have you got any questions?
Only about what you were speaking about the range, Peter.
Yeah.
And I think we, and the organisation have got it spot on with the fact that, as you say, go and practice on the course. No one else seems to get that. You get all the coaches, all the PGA coaches and that always go on about people saying that they can't replicate what they did on the driving range on the golf course. And you say it so much, and the manual says it so much, is the fact that learning is contextual, and the fact that the range isn't anything to do with making shots. I think the only thing we can do at the range with clients is essentially like more technical stuff, more maybe posture, and you can work on things like grip. You can do the target focused shots, but actually not like what you can do on the golf course. Not the map that you're hitting off is a perfect lie every time.
Yeah.
How often do you get a lie on a golf course like what you get on the range? And I do feel like everybody else misses out on that, and you very much make that very aware to all of us as coaches that that's the best place for the learning is out there. And I think he spoke about that today. I kind of caught on to the fact that they made a point that people always come to them and say they couldn't replicate what they did on the range. And I think we kind of push the fact that that's probably not the best place to do your learning. There's got to be elements of what we teach that you will do in a range or in a range bay, but actually the majority of what you can learn through feel and from what you can see and get will be happening on the course. So I think that's really...
Yeah. I mean, look, we obviously have got problems in that, some golf courses are full all day long and you couldn't do any of the things that I want to do. You couldn't do any of them. So, there are challenges, unless we sort of like, you have a 3-hole learning course that, is separate from the golf course. This is always going to have a degree of difficulty within it. So we've got to be flexible and creative. What I would say is that in the Lessons for Life program, my winters, I'm spending 18 holes on the golf course with the learners every day. So I think that what I'm going to certainly do is make sure that I mix that up a lot more, and I'm also I might have to change venue to find a course that isn't as busy as where I currently am. But that's our biggest opportunity. For the most part, though, we've still got the 3-ball strategy to send them off to play on their own, and we could put stuff in that as well, but it wouldn't work before we get them into an eagle state. So you might want to get random practice on the golf course. You might want them on a par 5 to start with a wedge, hit a driver off the deck as a second, hit a 3-iron as a wedge as the third. So you're using the course, it's all contextual, but you're also making that practice random, you're putting in degrees of difficulty and so on and so forth. But of course, the one thing that you're going to have for that work is a highly motivated person. So unless you've got a highly motivated person, they're not going to even want to do any of this work in the first place. Which is, again, why from a marketing perspective, we need to do this and then only work with highly motivated people. Because then, you will get an exclusive, you will have an exclusive practice. Does that make sense, Ben?
Yeah, because you're going to have someone that's really motivated to get better. So you
absolutely.
Get results, aren't you?
Absolutely. 100%. We're going to wrap it up there. There's football to watch tonight. So everybody have fun. I will be getting this posted tomorrow. Those people that watch any of the links, please comment on YGA. I'll try and get through them tomorrow and we can keep that whole thing going, yeah? Hey, thank you everybody. I really appreciate you being here. Appreciate your time before and after this session. Have a good night. Speak to you soon. Good night.